Hello, everyone. Hey, welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Senturus webinar. This time around, we're going to talk about Power BI, Report Builder, and Paginated reports. We are still going to talk about Report Builder and Paginated reports. So, introduce me for those of you who don't know me, which, pretty surprising. There you go. Look at that, Steve. And thank you, Steve, for pasting that a second time. And look at that. You got some kudos up there in the chat window in the Q&A just for you, Steve. But we're going to do an introduction for those of you who don't know me. Then we're going to talk about why do you need Power BI paginated reports? Why do you need Report Builder at all? What is the purpose of it? And I'm going to do a demo because there's some things I think are misunderstood about Report Builder. And I'm going to do two specific demos, given enough time, to show you that there's more to Report Builder than you probably think. Then we'll finish up with our usual Senturus overview and additional resources, and time allowing, go through any of the questions that I have missed along the way. Okay? Hopefully that sounds good to everybody. Hopefully you're all doing swell on this Thursday. So for those of you who do not know me, that is me, Pat Powers, BI consultant, trainer, architect, data scientist, pain in the you-know-what extraordinaire. This is my 27th year of data science, data analytics, data warehousing, whatever term de jour you wish to give it this week. Been doing this for nearly 3 decades with just about every product you've ever seen. And I am certified in all of said products, Power BI, Tableau, Cognos. Been doing it all, doing them all way too long. I'm old, I'm tired, and man, that about sums it up. Okay? Come on. And now for our poll. Because what is a Senturus webinar without a poll? We got to have a poll. So let's ask, how do you deliver static reports currently? Now, by static, we're not talking just about printed versions. Wow, words lost me there. We're not talking just about printed versions, talking about things that you might email, anything else. So how do you do it? Let me start that poll. All right, here we go. Going once, going twice, boom. And what a shockaroonie. The majority of you are using Excel or other file-based solution. Doesn't come as any surprise. This is what I literally expected this poll to end up looking like. So let's talk about how we can make those deliveries better. Because while we're on this topic, we also need to keep in mind things that are going on with Fabric and things that are going on in terms of the overall Power BI, Power Architecture, Microsoft Stack architecture, and how Fabric is this going to be this container for all this, including the ability to do paginated reports from within your service. Now, today we're talking about the desktop tool, but it's important to still keep that in mind as we move into the future. And so that's why I want to show you two very specific things today. Okay? First off, as I'm sure every one of you is aware, as I'm sure you're all aware, we've got challenges of report authoring, right? I think it's very, very common for all of us to know you've got that person who's in HR, you've got that person who's retiring in 3 months, and they are not about to try and learn some new fancy technology, and they say, look, dear, can't you just give it to me the way I've always been using it? Look, I've been here since 1974. Can I just have my same piece of paper? And that means you've got to replicate Excel spreadsheets, paper invoices, everything that's been around since 1974, right? Yes, Scott, 1974. Hey, everybody, Scott Felton has joined us. Everybody give it up for Scott Felton. Scott Felton is our wonderful sales director. And if you want to talk more about this, you can always get with Scott. Scott, will talk to you more. Me, when I'm done with this, I'm going to go home and sit in the dark because I still have no power. So how do we replicate these things like Excel spreadsheets, paper invoices, purchase orders, all those things? Because in today's modern tools, that's not what they're built for, right? Today's modern tools, no, you have to make everything pretty. Look at all these pretty visualizations. Look at all the pretty colors. Yeah, well, how well does that print? How well does that email? How well does that look on everybody's monitor? These are the questions that I would wager a lot of you ask. Yes, Andrew. Oh, you came in late, Andrew. Sorry. Yeah, no. Last night at 1:15 a.m., a giant lightning bolt hit the power substation next to my house. I've been without power since 1:15 a.m. I am sitting. So again, those of you who did join late, I am not at my normal workstation. I am sitting in a rented office space. I'm talking to you on less than adequate hardware, and I'm doing the best I can. So we'll get through this though, gang. I promise you. Hey, again, look at this. How are you going to print this? How are you going to take this? How are you going to use this the way that your purchasing department wants it? Okay, how's your purchasing department supposed to put this in that file cabinet that they have been guarding since 1975? Okay, we started giving them papers in 74. In 75, they started filing them. So, oops. Paginated reports. Paginated reports are meant to be designed to be printed. They're meant to be shared, and they're called that because they are meant to fit well on a page. They are meant to fit well on a formatted page. They display all the data in a table, even if that table spans multiple pages. They are designed exactly for what we're trying to do here. Okay. One of the things that's really important about them is they're pixel perfect, meaning that you can replicate that invoice form that you've been using for the last 20 years. Now, I say 1974 like it was only 20 years ago because, 95 was only 10 years ago, right? Right? Friends just went off the air, right? We just saw the last episode of Seinfeld. 1993 wasn't 30 years ago. Okay, just hush. Let me have that one. All right. They do become interactive when you use them through the service. But here you get the best of both worlds. And again, this is why I want you to be here today, because most people tend to go into blinder mode. And they think of these only in terms of printing them or PDFs or whatever. But the reality is you can also publish these to your service. Okay? And when you publish these to your service, then they can become interactive. We can have interactive sorting. We can have drills. We can have different functionality on there. They can also be designed through the service, as I just said. So once again, thinking of the bigger picture, thinking of fabric, thinking of all these other newer things, all of this comes together. All right. How we doing so far? Everybody doing great? Let me see you. Raise those hands if you're doing great. Look at that. Thank you. Wow, look at all those hands going up. You're awesome. I like it when everybody actually pays attention to me. You don't get into a job like this unless you have ego issues. Just saying. So, some things to know about paginated reports. One of the nice things is a single paginated report can have multiple different data sources. It doesn't have an underlying data model. So you're not locked into having to do all the joins and everything else. You cannot have two different data sources in the same object on a paginated report, but you can have multiple data sources on a paginated report. You can also embed these data sources and data sets into the report itself. The tool to use this is called Report Builder. If Report Builder looks a little familiar to you, which I'm sure it will to some of you, you'll understand why when I say that. It is a local desktop tool that is essentially the rebranding of something many of you have probably already used. Okay? You can use on-prem data. After you upload it to the service, you do have to create a gateway though. So there has to be a gateway if you're using it on-prem. All right. One of the big differences that you're going to see here, those of you who are used to using Power BI Desktop, you're used to be able to connect into oodles and oodles of different data sources, specifically Excel or CSV or, WebMonkey or some strange thing like Jethro. You can connect almost anything you want to Power BI Desktop. This is the list that Report Builder can connect to. Okay, that is important to keep in mind. This is the list. The only saving grace you've got here is the fact that you can use an ODBC connection, which allows you to at least connect to a little bit more variety of things. But at the end of the day, this is what you got. What you see is what you get. Okay? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when you're going to build reports. We build them, again, in Report Builder. We have different things that we can do. We can build matrix reports. We can add charts. We can also do freeform. This is where I think most people don't really utilize the full advantage of Report Builder. They maybe are doing things like this. This is pretty much text with some colored boxes. But you can do things like data bars and spark lines and variances. These are possible in the tool. Okay? So look, in addition to those invoice type reports, you can also add things like this: calculations, groups, drill downs, visual indicators, data bars, so spark lines basically. They're more than just a printed piece of paper. And I want you to use the tool that way because, yeah, you're going to have people who want the printed piece of paper, but you can also lure them in and get them on the service and get them using more by saying, hey, if you log in, look at all these other cool things you can do. Here's your piece of paper, Donna, but if you also want to see something cool, log into the service. Okay? I think that takes us to our demo. Oh no, one last thing I want to talk about. We're almost to the demo, I promise you. Templates. One of the very first things you should do in Paginated Report and Report Builder is build yourself a template, okay? Because the number one factor to getting people to use tools like this is consistency. It doesn't matter. You might have 10 people in your organization who are building reports, okay? Your end user should have no clue from which of the 10 people the report came. There should be a consistent look and feel. There should be a consistent message. There are people in your organization known as your branding department, your identity department, or, in the olden days, your marketing department, who have spent a long time coming up with the exact perfect shade of blue that all of your fonts should be. It's now their time to shine. Okay? We're gonna give it to them. All those years they spent looking at kerning, this is their moment in the sun. Don't take it away from them. So, you want to have a template, you can publish that template out to your service. That way, anybody who builds a report can download that template and everybody starts from the same starting point. And guess what I'm going to do today? I'm going to start from a template because I am going to put my money where my mouth is, or my mouth where my money is, however you want to look at it. All right, here's where things are going to get tricky because, again, I'm not on my usual environment. I'm going to do my gosh darn best. Welcome to Report Builder. And there's at least one of you right now There's at least one of you saying, that looks a lot like something I used 20 years ago, Barry. You know what? You're right. If this looks a lot like SSRS to you, it's because it is. It's SSRS rebranded. Andrew, you nailed it right on the head. It is. This is SSRS, gang. So if it looks very familiar, yeah. And even Microsoft straight up acknowledges Report Builder is an updated, quote unquote, version of SSRS. SQL Services, Report Studio, whatever the heck it stands for. But yeah, the old tool that came with SQL Server. Yes, thank you. SQL Server Reporting Services. Thank you, Scott. Yes. Sorry, again, I'm not used to having to turn my head. You're all over here on another screen, on another computer. That's why I'm connected to this twice. Oy, such a headache. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. I've got a template. I've got a dynamic template too. Notice that I used a function for my report name. Look at that over here. You can have functions. So when this gets saved, this gets automatically put in. Look at my handy dandy logo. Look at my nice little execution time down here. And I can move these things around. I can adjust them. I can move them where I want them. You'll also notice that, hey, why isn't your work area taking up the size of a page? Well, if you take a look over here at properties, I've actually got my page properties set to 8.5 by 11. So I don't need to adjust my canvas necessarily, because once I put in the data fields on my canvas, the data will go and fill an 8.5 by 11 set of specs. So I don't have to adjust my canvas. I have to adjust my page. My work canvas, I don't even know what my work canvas is set for. That's the header. 7.5 by 2 is what I have my work area set for. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. All right, we're going to connect to data two different ways here. The first way I'm going to connect to data is through a database. So over here on the left, I have data sources and data sets. In order to create a data set, I have to first connect to a data source. So I'm going to add a data source. And in the second demo, I'm going to use a Power BI data set. In the first one, though, I'm going to call this AdventureWorks. And we're going to connect up to an Azure SQL database. And we're all going to cross our fingers that I can get past the firewalls and all those fun things. No, not that. We're going to do a SQL Server login, and give me 3 seconds while I switch screens so I can see what the heck I'm looking at. Got it. Nope. That's better. Don't worry, I didn't finish the password, so nobody's going to see my super secret password. All right, moment of truth. Steve. Woo! I got it. We're good. Everybody breathe. We're good. So I'm connecting up straight to a database. As you can see, my connection is successful. Now, I'm going to create a data set. Okay? And what you see here is we have it, and it wants to know, so I'm going to call this DS main. Okay? I'm going to pick my AdventureWorks data set. And now I'm going to go here to Query Designer. Okay, query designer. And look at that. There is my whole database. So I'm going to go to dim employee. And I'm going to take first name, last name, title, email address, phone, and here's a cool one. I am going to use a blob of employee photo. Now I'm also going to go down here to sales territory, and I'm going to bring in the sales territory region and the sales territory group. Okay? So I can go ahead and I can bring these in because there is an underlying join. Because there is an underlying join here of sales territory key and of employee key all going through the fact table. So there is definitely a join in the background. If I did not have an explicit join, I would have to bring over the fields I need to make sure that that join works. Okay. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to set a filter. So here under applied filters, I'm going to add a filter, and I'm going to bring in a field I'm not using, which is salesperson flag, and I'm going to say is true. What I'm going to build is I'm going to build a salesperson report, and I'm going to build an employee directory report. Okay, and I'm going to test this query. Look at that. Okay. And notice here I have SQL. I have SQL. If I needed to change something, if I wanted to add an order by, if I wanted to add a group by, I can type in directly here. So I could type in an order by statement if I wanted to. This is just SQL, which means if you already have something, you could copy and paste that SQL in here. That's kind of cool. We could also add calculated fields. So let's go here to our fields, and I'm going to add a calculated field. Okay. I can add a query field, so another one from the data source, or I can add a calculated one. And I am going to call this salesperson. And I'm going to write an expression. Now, here's where I would normally copy and paste, but sadly, I cannot today. So I'm going to do a U case. Bang, last name dot value. I'm just doing a basic concatenation here, and notice that I'm uppercasing and I'm pulling back the field last name value. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Again, if you used SSRS, none of this should be any surprise to you. Adding in a comma and a space, another ampersand, and then fields, bang, first name dot value. There are built-in fields, there are operators, there are all sorts of things I could do that are built in. Hopefully I didn't mistype any of that because, you know, that's my luck. I'm going to add a second calculated field, and I'm going to call this one group region. Something you'll also notice that I'm not using and that there aren't any spaces. Because this is SSRS, because this is an older tool, no spaces. If any of these field names had had spaces, it would have automatically put in underscores in here. So it also, if there's non-standard characters, question marks, percentages, things like that, it will replace those with underscores. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do this. And for this one, fields, bang, territory group dot value, ampersand, quote, colon, space, quote, ampersand, fields, bang, sales territory region dot value. Again, hopefully I didn't mess any of that up. Hopefully I got everything typed in correctly. Oh, cross your fingers. All right, now that we've got that, now that we've got our data set, do OK, and look at that. There's our data set all ready to go. Time to build. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in here and I'm going to insert a list. Now, when I say these are pixel perfect, here's what we're talking about. One of the things that I think some of you may get frustrated with this tool, there's a lot of tedium involved. Because now what I have to do is come down here to the location and size properties. And yeah, I have to manually set 0, 0. And I want my width to be 7.5. I want my height to be 1.6. Okay, so yeah, you're going to have to manually do those things. Okay. Aaron, I am not aware of any bursting capabilities that are built in here. The question was asked, can you burst this based on somebody's email or something like that? That would be needed to be done within the service itself. So yes, something like Power Automate would be a good way to do that. If I'm wrong on that, please somebody tell me, but I'm not aware of any bursting capabilities in here. Okay. Which is what you were asking about, of course. And yeah, Andrew, it is tedious. And I want everybody to be aware of that. This is tedious. And I'm not even going, I may not get this completely finished because it is that tedious. And I want to make sure I have enough time to show you the other one. So I'm going to drag salesperson into this list. Okay, notice that it put it basically wherever the heck I wanted it. So I'm going to make sure that I get this all set up. I'm going to select that text box. I'm going to set it to an 18-point font. And now I get to do this fun stuff. Location. I want the left to be 1.2. I want the top to be 0. Okay. And width will be 6.3. Also, there's no magic in this, gang. I hate to tell you this, but there's no magic in this. This is trial and error. Okay? It is trial and error until you get this right. Now, I'm going to quickly add the rest of these. I'm going to try to get them where I want them without spending a lot of time. Group region, title, phone, email address, okay. And for all of these, yeah, that's the other thing. There are some things that can and cannot be done multiple. Isn't that fun? 6.3.25. Oh, done. Group region, top, 0.3. Title. And again, I just want you to see when we say this is tedious, we're not joking around. 0.55. 6.3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Now we're going to add a sort to this. So I'm going to right click inside here and I'm going to select my entire tablix. My tablix is my list. So here it's called a tablix and what I've selected is the entire list. Okay. All right, I'm going to make sure the height is 1.6, check. And I'm going to change the sort expression. So under other, here's under other, sort expression, I'm going to add in sorting. Okay. And I'm going to add, I'm going to base it on salesperson A to Z. So now I've got sorting there. You know what? I need to do these two at least. Oops, don't screw that up. 6.3. 6.3. Okay, so there we go. The next thing is, hey, let's add in our image because I can add images into this, all right, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to right click in here. I'm going to insert an image. All right, we're going to call this employee photo. I could add a tooltip if I wanted. I'm going to pull this from the database, and I'm going to use the field employee photo, and I'm going to tell it what the MIME type is. And I think this was a JPEG. Yeah, it's a JPEG. Look at that. Nifty. Come on. Tell me that's nifty. You know it is. And thank you. It is nifty. So I'm going to set that to 0, 0. All right. Thank you for that. Ooh, ah. It is nifty. My width is going to be 1. My height is going to be 1.4. There we go. Now, I want a line in between each of these. I want a line in between each of my salespeople. So look at all the other things I can insert here. And again, this is what I want you to see, that it's not just boring stuff on a page. I can insert a sub-report, a chart, a gauge. Well, for this one, I'm going to insert a line because I want a line between them. Okay? And for my line, we're going to go 1.2, 1.4, my endpoint, horizontal 7.5, vertical is 1.4. All right, I haven't seen any questions come in, but I'm checking. So, Andre, yes, I could drag this, but notice, look, I dragged in phone and email address, and if you look closely, do you see how I'm not exactly on? Do you see that, Andre? This is why I want you to see that there is going to be a lot of that pixel perfect type stuff where you're going to have to spend the time and the tedium getting things lined up. Okay. Okay. Stephanie, so images can come from different places. They can come from external. Okay, so I can put in like a URL or something along those lines. They can come from embedded, so I can import it. I can import it from my local machine. External would be a URL, or I can pull it from a database. So those are the places where I can pull those things from, Stephanie. Okay. All right, now that I've got all that, let's see what this looks like. In order to preview my report, I'm going to run it. Look at that, everybody. 3 pages, 1, 2, 3. Look at that. And if we look at the print layout, here's what it would look like in print. I could export it to any of these formats. So I could still export it to Word. I could export it to PowerPoint, Excel. I can still export it to all these different things, so I could email it, so I can bring it out there, everything else. But again, it's more than just something on a page. Well, I don't know if that may just be a Zoom issue. It may be because I did not put in exact positioning on why the email is not showing, Adam. It may be off. It may be off the printed page. So again, this is why we want to take the time to do exact locations on these things. Because I set it to a certain width, it may be getting dropped off. Okay. Oscar, if I export this to Excel, let's take a look at it. What do you say? What do you say we take a look at it together? Here's what we get in Excel. Single tab. I even get the image still. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for stopping by. So I'm going to do one more demo that's very similar, but I'm going to use a different data source so you guys can see a very specific difference. But otherwise, you've seen it. Okay. But Oscar, does that answer your question? It is a single sheet. It's one dump. Each one of these is a cell. The image is in its own cell. Okay. And Adam, again, hopefully that answered your question of why that was getting cut off, because notice that when I do export it, it's not getting cut off. So I think it has to do with the fact that I didn't explicitly put it where I want it, and that's why it's getting cut off. All right. So let's take a look at another one. And what I'm going to do, I don't want to save that. I'm going to open it up again. I'm going to blank report. Now I should show that again real quick. When you do new, it does give you a few built-in options. Okay, it gives you the ability to start from a table, from a chart, from a map. If you decide to come to our paginated reports class, we do use the wizard, and we do have a whole class on this. It's a one-day class, and we go through quite a bit more than what I'm doing here today in 45 minutes. But you can see there are different options. All right, so I'm going to open up my template again. Come on. Look at that. We all start from the same place. This needs to be moved over. I need to resave my template. Now I'm going to build one even faster. This time, however, I'm going to use a Power BI dataset connection, which is probably what some of you came to see. So notice I'm connecting my service. I'm going into a workspace, and I'm using a data set that has been previously published from desktop. Okay? Notice the nice fun name it gives it. I'm going to add a data set. Once again, I'm going to call it DS main. I'm going to pick that, and watch this difference. When we click Query Designer this time, when I click Query Designer this time, hint, hint. So how's everybody doing? Okay, there we go. What is this? Look, instead of SQL, now we're working with either DAX or MDX, depending on the data set. Look at that. We're working with DAX. That's where you say ooh, ah again. Okay. So that's our big difference. When we do it this way, we're working with DAX. And you see that I can actually work with member data. Okay. I can work with member data when I work from a published data set. Come on, where's my ooh and my ahs? You're letting me down here. All right, over here on the left, we're going to expand out salesperson. expand out the sales people hierarchy. Thank you for that, ooh-ah. And I'm going to bring over country, salesperson, and then from my measures, I'm going to bring from sales, I'm going to bring over sales, from target, and variance percentage, and from KPI, I'm going to bring over this field sales performance status. I'm going to use that, given enough time, I'm going to use that to create an icon, a KPI icon, okay? We're also going to add a filter. So up here on the top, I'm going to put a filter on here from date. Okay. That's not what I want. Yeah, it is. I want fiscal year equal. And notice that I can make this a parameter. And I am going to make this one 2021. Yep. And I'm also going to parameterize this. So I can add parameters here, gang. So again, this is that interactivity. If they log in and they do it online, they get things like parameters. There's my data. We'll use that. We'll use that for our visual indicator, and we're going to do OK. And again, there's my DAX. So if I wanted to type anything in DAX, I could. Okay. We will also see, if we go to fields, this is what I was talking about before. Notice that it changed the name of this. It got rid of the percentage. And I'm going to change the name of this one, status. Okay. I'm going to go to my parameters, my date of my fiscal year. And I'm going to go to the parameter, oops, I'm going to do OK there. I'm going to go here to my parameters, and I'm going to go to the parameter properties. And notice that I can set certain things. So I'm not going to allow blank values, and I'm not going to allow multiple values. This will force my users to have to pick a single year. Okay? I'm going to leave it. I'm leaving the name for right now. That's fine. I'm not going to add the subtitle. I could add a subtitle up here. What I am going to add is a table. Okay, and I'm going to put that table right here at 0, 0. Please. Thank you. Okay, that's good enough. I'm going to use my field picker, and I'm going to pick my fields. Well, I'm going to add salesperson. Then I'm going to add sales, target. I'm going to insert more columns. I'm going to add variance percentage. And that should be everything, right? Right. Now I can format all these if I wanted to. I can select multiple of them, and I can change things like the background color. I can change the font color. I can change the lines. I can change all those things. I can change my alignment, make them all nice and pretty. And if I just wanted to change these three, say I wanted to right align those and right align those. Now I can also quickly set the format on these boxes. Over here I have a format. Okay? And I can do something very easy and nice. Instead of having to deal with format, I can just say C0. Currency, 0 decimal places. Same thing here. Format, C0. And then this last box, format, P2. For percentage, 2 decimal places. All right, we got about 5 more minutes, gang, and I'm going to get you through this, I promise. And so we've got something pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I'm going to add in some conditional formatting. So I'm going to right-click this box right here, and I am going to go to the text box properties, and look at this. Under fill, I can do a function. Nope, not fill, font. Try that again. Text box properties, font, and I want color. There we go. Well, I'm going to use a function. I'm going to say equals, and I'm just going to do an if. Bang, variance underscore PCT dot value greater than or less than 0, comma, red, comma, black. Nothing fancy there. Okay, nothing fancy at all. Let's take a look. Let's preview that real quick. Look at that. Look at that. And as I said up here, we've got our parameter. So I could pick a different year, view report. Boom. Not too shabby, right? The last thing I want to add in is I want to add in one more column. I want to put in some indicators, okay? And then we'll be done. That is correct, Aaron. There's a whole set of those language files that you can find in the docs for this. So yes, Aaron asked that I put the field name dot value. There are other dot things that can be put after that. Okay. So yes, but dot value. Think of this as this is VB, right? This is VB from SSRS days. So Aaron, if you ever wrote any Visual Basic or script language like that, same thing, same language. Okay, same language. Jitendra, I logged in to my service under my service account to pull that data set back. As far as it depends on your data source. Okay, to use a data set, I'm going to have to be in the service. For others, I could have, if I'm doing it with a SQL server or something like that, I'd have to have a username and password. I can also do Windows authentication. I can do Azure authentication. If I'm doing a data set, I've got to be able to log into the service. Okay. All right, so the last thing I want to do here is I'm going to add a new column. Now, again, I would have renamed these. I would have made these prettier. And for this one, I'm going to right-click this box, and I'm going to insert an indicator. Look at that. I'm going to insert an indicator. I'm going to pick this 3. Okay. I'm going to click on that indicator, and I'm going to go here. I want the properties, indicator properties. Oops, nope, cancel. I need to set this to status. There we go. Now I'm going to go to indicator properties. Under values, I'm going to set this to numeric. And just like this, remember those statuses I had in there? I'm going to use those for this. So I'm going to read the database field. I'm going to see what's going on. Okay. Boom, boom. Look at that. Ta-da. Now, again, I would have changed the width on these. I would have made these look a little nicer. I would have changed the names of these columns. But I wanted you to see, given the time that we had, that, hey, it's more than just a dump. I'm pulling things in from a database. I'm doing it from a data set. I'm adding visual indicators. What do we think? Do we like this? Do we think this is pretty nifty? Kyle asked, what's missing from Cognos, or how does this change from a Cognos? The biggest advantage here, Kyle, is the ability to access different data sets and to be able to access different data sources, whereas I really would need to have a model or something. The other difference, too, is that there is, depending on your source data, you're going to have issues in terms of performance, because a lot of people use Cognos to do it against transactional models, and that's why you end up with these giant data dumps. This still isn't necessarily meant for data dumping. Okay. And Kyle, I would recommend that if you want to talk more about this, Scott, could you please dump your chat with Scott thing in there into the chat window for everybody, please? So what I would suggest, Kyle, is set up a little meeting with Scott, and we can talk more about this. So because there's a lot more to my answer, but yes, I would. This is going to be a lot more effective and efficient in some respects because of your options that are available in terms of data sets. Now, what was asked earlier, I can burst from Cognos a lot easier than I can from here. But again, if I wrap it into a Fabric world, then I've got a different story. Okay? All right, gang, we got 3 minutes left. Just in summary, as you saw, we can do pixel perfect reporting. It's an easy way to get users moved into Power BI. They still get what they want, and they can still print, they can share, they can do whatever they want, but we get them engaged and we get them on board and we get them into using the service and we get them away from those types of things. Again, if you want to learn more, hey, I do a whole day on this. And in that class, we build these reports, we add interactivity, we add drill downs, we publish, we maintain, talk about licensing, because there are issues with licensing with this. You got to make sure you have the right license, you got to make sure you have the right PPUs, all those sorts of things. So come to the full day class. Again, if you want to sign up for the class, you can go here to the Senturus website. You can also send Scott a message, and we can talk about even customizations of classes. Okay. Upcoming events. So we're going to be doing a Fabric workshop. Yeah, I'm working on a Fabric workshop. I've been putting it together. Yeah, and guess what? Probably going to do these in person. So if you've ever wanted to actually see me in person, I know it's a scary thought, we're going to have Fabric workshops. Okay. We've also put up a 2023 BI tools guide. So Kyle, this would be something that you might be interested in. Take a look at this. This at least shows you all the differences in the Microsoft Analytics tools. So take a look at that. But again, we can talk more because your question has more. We've got a lot more out on the website. We've got product reviews, we've got tips, we've got tricks, we've got everything you've ever wanted to know and nothing you've never wanted to know. If you want to hear more about stuff like this, on September 20th, I'll be talking about doing proper framework manager modeling, why your models are horrible and how to fix them. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Get the heck out of here. We'll be doing a drag and drop Cognos data into Power BI. So Kyle, there's one you might want to go to. Then again, we're talking about jump-starting a Fabric, and we're going to do our Fabric workshop. But we got a lot of stuff coming up. We got a lot of stuff between now and the end of the year. Also, towards the end of the year, I'm going to be doing a session on planning out 2024. You don't want to miss that one either. Hey, here at Senturus, we've been doing everything for a very long time. We're awesome. You know it. We know it. We put things in a green arrow. They come out of blue arrow. But look at all this stuff we do. It's wonderful. It's awesome. 22 years, 1,400 clients, 3,000 projects. Look at all these people. Some of you are here. Some of you are on this list. Ooh, good job. If you'd like to join us, if you'd like to actually work with somebody as crazy as me, hey, look, we're hiring a managing consultant and a BI consultant. You can find that on the website. You can also send it to jobs@senturus.com. I think I got all the questions. I think so. Again, you can always send a message to info@senturus.com and we will answer it. And look at that. It is 3 o'clock on the dot. Thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for giving me an hour of your day. Get the heck out of here. You were all wonderful. I hope you enjoyed it all. I hope we see you in a Power BI Paginated Reports class. Take care, everybody. Thank you all for stopping by. You were all wonderful.